Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for Scientists in Action, Horses Helping Humans. My name is Talia. I'm the Virtual School Programs Coordinator at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, and today I am connected to a crew of horses and humans from the Temple Grandin Equine Center at Colorado State University. In just a moment, I'm going to hand it over to them, and they're going to tell you all about their exciting career working with animals and about some of the ways that horses can be important components of treatment conditions of the mind and body. We've got a fascinating program for you today. We cannot wait to hear your questions. We cannot wait to show you some actual fuzzy ponies on camera because we're actually going to talk about that today. We have fuzzy ponies ready to show you. It's going to be amazing. But just a couple of quick housekeeping items before we get going. Number one, I would like to begin today by respectfully acknowledging that Colorado State University and the Denver Museum of Nature and Science are located on the traditional lands of the Cheyenne, Ute, Arapaho, and Oceti-Sakowin nations, as well as those of other traditional keepers. I would also like to acknowledge that we are currently connected to students from all across the country. You can't hear me. Is everyone able to hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Okay, sorry to interrupt. It looks like Phoenix Academy, you guys might need to adjust your speakers or something like that. Everybody else is able to hear me. I am watching the chat though, and if you do have any tech issues, please communicate that with us. Randy Menegatti, I will let you get down to business fixing those speakers. You might need to switch which one you're connected to in Zoom. Yay! Thank you. Yay. So as you can tell, I am a real person. The crew at Temple Grandin Equine Center is also real people. Today we are going to be able to see and hear some of you. Some of our classrooms that we are connected to will be able to ask questions via their webcam and microphone. The rest of you will be able to use the chat to submit your questions today. So don't worry if you're not able to do that yet. I have got the chat shut down. We will open it up when it is time to submit some questions. So make sure that you're thinking of those throughout the time that we are connected today, and we will be able to pull those in just a little bit. And of course, once I do open the chat, we love to hear from you about where you are connected from today. If you're watching in a group of people, how many students you have with you and their ages or grades. It's always fun for us to get to know that. So without any further ado, I think we are going to go ahead and jump in and kick it over to our crew at the Temple Grandin Equine Center. We are connected first up to Debbie Moger, who is the program coordinator. She is an expert in equine-assisted therapy, and she's standing next to a very cute, very adorable friend. So without any further ado, we're going to switch over. Good morning, Debbie. Oh, how are you?
Good morning, Talia. I'm great. Thank you so much for having us. We're coming from you live to Denver, or today from Denver, Colorado, at the National Western Stock Show Complex at the Temple Grandin Equine Center. And the reason that it's called the Temple Grandin Equine Center is Temple Grandin is a lady who has autism, and she is a professor of animal sciences at CSU. And so she has brought great awareness to everyone about the autism community and their connection with horses. And so that's why we are using her name to make that awareness even greater. And we are at a temporary facility right now, like I said, on National Western Stock Show Complex grounds. And we'll be here just for about another year and a half before our brand new beautiful facility, state of the art, will be complete, literally just on the other side of the street. And so for right now, we're running out of an old automotive repair building. And so we've made this into a very comfy place for the horses to stay. We have an indoor arena, an outdoor arena. The horses hang out here during the day in their pens, and we can come out and enjoy the sunshine as well. So we do equine-assisted therapies here, and that would include physical and occupational and speech therapies, also psychotherapy and therapeutic riding. So each one of those is just a little bit different. Physical therapy works more on the gross motor, so the large motor, large muscle groups of your body. And so we would work then on balance, coordination, endurance, core strength, all of that. With occupational therapy, we're going to work more on fine motor skills. And so basically, drawing, buttoning shirts, tying shoes, doing buckles, cognition, sensory. So things that, remembering things in a sequence, touching different sort of textures. So it may look very similar to what we're doing, or you know, between physical and occupational therapy, but we're doing things for very different reasons. So today we have an occupational therapist. Her name is Maria, and she's working with a client. And so she's working on occupational therapy. So she'll be doing a lot of fine motor, maybe remembering, you know, left, right, using, you know, your right hand, your left hand. We also have to remember that you have to build your core strength first before you can use your hands, right? You've got to be able to support your body before you can use your hands. And so that's why it's good to use the horses, because we can strengthen the core. And then it's the same thing as doing walking gum, or walking and chewing gum at the same time. So you're doing two different things. It's as if I could talk and do the same thing, two things at a time. But so doing two things at a time. So again, working on cognition. So doing things in a sequence.
Now, one quick question that I have. A lot of these things that you're working on with your client sounds like things that they could do anywhere. They could do it in a doctor's office. They could do it in a physical therapist's office. So let's talk a little bit about why do equine-assisted therapy? And before we have you jump in too much, we have a poll that we want our students to vote in. So students, we want to know what you think. Why do we do equine-assisted therapy? What's the big deal? Why should we do something with horses when we could just do something in a regular doctor's office? Why is this something that's important for us to do? So in just a moment, you are going to see a poll question pop up on your screen. We would love to hear from you about what you think. Tell us what's special about horses and equine-assisted therapy. Is it that the way horses move is unique? Is it that therapists can use different techniques than in other forms of therapy? Is it that it's fun? Or how about all of the above? So go ahead and cast your votes. Looks like we don't have anyone who has voted yet. So teachers, survey those students and let us know what they think. And you can start casting those votes. Oh, I can see them start to come in, and then we'll tell you the answer. By the way, I did open up the chat. I think I have it set now so that any chats you send will go to the panelists of the webinar. One thing I want to make sure everyone knows today is that your chats are representing your school. I want to make sure that everyone knows we are expecting you today to use the chat just for questions and comments related to what we're talking about today. So students doing remote learning at home, make sure that you are being a good representative of your school today. All right, looks like we are almost ready. I'm going to go ahead and end our poll and take a look at those results. Debbie, it looks like it was unanimous. All of the above was the 100% ruling. Did they get it right?
They got it so right. That's amazing. You guys are so smart. That is so cool. So yes, we can use different techniques. Of course, horses being able to help humans is very unique in the fact that we do have a horse-human bond, right? And so people enjoy coming to their therapy instead of going to a regular office that maybe just has four walls and one piece of machinery that's boring and you do the same thing over and over and over. If you come out to see your horse and you can do different things, you get different scenery each time, we can change tack, we can do all sorts of different things to kind of change it up a little bit. The horses' movements are each unique as well. And so we can use a different horse for different things. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But, you know, depending on if people are wanting to learn cognition, and so maybe they need to learn things that are in sequence, and so we'll give them a 5-sequence or 3-sequence task to perform. And so it's kind of fun that you can see how engaging it is to work with the horses, and how people are really willing and want to do those kind of activities. So yeah, and people also enjoy really spending time with horses. And so it's just kind of, you know, seeing your favorite dog is always great, but imagine seeing your favorite great big dog. And so which is kind of what horses are. You know, they're herd animals the same as people are. And so they're very communicative, and people who maybe won't communicate with another human being, maybe someone who has autism and has a hard time, you know, looking directly into someone else's eyes, maybe the first eye contact that they make might be with the horse. So that's really kind of fun to watch that bond build.
And there were just a couple of clips on the screen. I'm trying to switch back over to it. There we go, to you, what's going on in the background. But there were just a couple of clips on the screen of someone really, really enjoying some of their equine-assisted therapy sessions. So yeah, truly it's an enjoyable practice. What else? Did we talk a little bit about different sorts of techniques, different things that are possible on horseback that are not possible elsewhere, and about how horses move? As you know, that's the thing that I think is really fascinating, and where the science of physical therapy or occupational therapy really intersects with equine science or animal science. Did we touch on those?
Right. So the great thing about this is that horses move very similar to how humans do with their pelvis. Okay, so the big bone within your hips at your waist, right? The horse's pelvis moves very similar to what a man's, actually exactly, to what a man or a person's pelvis does when we walk. And so if we want to be able to teach someone how to walk correctly, to walk properly, to function, we put them on the horse, and it actually gives them the neurological input and teaches them how to do that. And when we switch back to our live feed, you'll see that we can do so many things differently. So they have rings on Kara's feet, and she's having to balance and turn and remember to keep those rings on her feet all at the same time. Oh, and then she has to put one on the cone, match a ring on the cone too. So we can be doing several different things all at once, whereas in a typical therapy setting, we may only be able to do one or two things at a time. So I can switch it over to Maria, and she can kind of give us a little bit of, tell us about what they're doing, and introduce Kara and what we're doing.
That sounds fabulous. Maria, can you hear us? She's all the way over there. Because she's a short distance away, it might take her a second to be ready. Thanks for hanging on in there, everybody.
Yeah, she'll come a little bit closer so that we can hear her.
And which horse is this that we're seeing in the background while Maria makes her way over here?
So this is Harley, and Harley is 16 years old, and he is a reining cow horse. So he knows how to push cattle, and he also knows how to do those fancy spins and sliding stops and all of that. And so he's very, very well trained. We can do several different things on him. We can play catch. We've actually played baseball off of this horse while we're sitting on him. And so he's just very accepting and just really laid back and easy going while someone's on his back. So you can see he's being very cooperative right now and just, waiting for Kara to be able to drop those rings on the cones.
Good job, Harley.
Very good.
All right, Maria, are you ready?
Can you hear me? Is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, hello, everybody. I'm Maria. This is Kara. We're working on all sorts of skills right now. Kara's been riding for a while, and so we actually have her controlling Harley. And we're doing an activity where we're working on following direction. She actually just finished up. So, let's go ahead, Kara, and we're going to just walk for a second. Give Harley a Yep. And we had Kara. She was matching colors from the ring to the cone. She was reaching down to her toes. The rings were on her feet to work on keeping her toes up while she's riding. And then matching the rings to the cones as she walked around and steered Harley. So she did great.
She is doing great. Perfect.
Next moment, we're just taking a quick break from doing those activities, and then we're going to get to our next activity. Kara, let's go down to meet Carol at the barrel.
Awesome. All right. Well, at this point, I think we might be about ready to start taking some questions from our students. What do you think, Temple Grandin Equine Center crew? Are you ready for some questions?
I think we're ready.
We get these lower thirds off. I'm struggling with the buttons today. You know what we should have done today is we should have gotten lower thirds for all of the horses so that I could put those on too, because how cool would it be if, Bond the Welsh pony could appear at the bottom of your screen. All right, so we are going to take some questions today, first from our on-camera groups, and then we are going to pull some from the chat. So we're going to start today by taking 2 questions from Randy Menegotti's group at Phoenix Academy down in Fountain Fort Carson. Next, we're going to go up to West Kelowna, British Columbia. So we are connected to Canada today as well, to Rose Valley Elementary School. After that, we are going to go to Gilbert, Arizona for 2 questions from Bridges Elementary School. That's Shauna Heyman or Shauna Hammond's group. Sorry if I have just mispronounced your name. And then 2 questions from Jen Golly's group at Crested Butte Community School. Students, I should have opened up the chat at this point, so if you have questions that you'd like to submit, you're welcome to type them there. Please do remember to use the chat just to submit questions and comments related to what we're talking about today. Otherwise, the chat gets really full of all kinds of comments and emojis, and that means that all of our questions get drowned out and we can't actually find them. So thanks in advance for cooperating with us. All right, I am going to go now over to Phoenix Academy. In just a moment, you're going to see your video feed fill up your screen. You'll need to unmute your microphone, but then you can ask your question. And if you remember, tell us your name. All right, going over to you. Looks like you might need to unmute. Oh, looks like you are. Come up onto that microphone. Come a little bit closer.
Okay, ask your question.
Hi, my name is Tristan Narcisse, and I wanted to ask, how many animals do you have there?
Awesome. I got that question, Debbie. I don't know if you heard it or not, but it sounds like that question is, how many animals do you have at the Temple Grandin Equine Center?
So we have 4 horses here at the Equine Center. Harley is one of them. I can introduce you to the others real quick if you'd like. So Harley, who we're using right now, is a 16-year-old quarter horse. And we also have Bond here. He's about 16 as well. He is a Welsh pony. And I told you Harley was a reining cow horse. So he works with cattle and does all the fancy spins and stops. Bond is actually a retired hunter jumper pony. So he jumps over all the little fences. The next one down, you can just see his backside is Adol, and Adol is a halflinger. He is about 23 years old, and he's a halflinger breed, is basically a short draft horse. So he has very big boned legs, and he's very stout. And then the next one all the way down, I'm not really sure if you can see him or not, his name is Goody. He's very tall. He's a quarter horse. He's 16 years old as well, and he is an 11-time world champion, and he pulls a cart. So he's a cart horse. He pulls a buggy. So Adol also is a driving horse, and so he can pull a buggy as well. But all of our horses are broke to ride. We can ride them English, we can ride them Western, and so they're all very versatile. Good question.
They're also extremely cute, just throwing that out there. They're all very handsome. All right, we're going to go next to Phoenix Academy for one more question. So yet again, you'll see your video pop up. There's Bond getting a big drink of water. Remember to talk nice and loud for us.
Hello, my name is Matthew, and my question was, how do you get to teach kids who have autism or some disabilities to ride a horse?
Oh, did you get that one, Debbie? That's a really good question and really, really central to your mission. Did you hear it?
I did not. I'm sorry. Can you repeat it?
That's okay. I got it for you. So the question was, how exactly do you teach kids who have autism or autism spectrum disorder? How do you ride a horse?
So we start with very basic skills, of course, of introducing the horse. And so we might start just with, communicating with the horse and touching the horse, working on sensory, working on communication. A lot of times people who have autism may also have physical issues, and so maybe their balance needs some, a little bit of work, maybe their communication skills. And so the horse is just a great medium to be able to teach them that. So like I say, we'll start very basic with just grooming, having interaction with the horse, and then eventually get on and have them follow directions, because everything's about motivation, right? And so if things are fun, you're going to be more apt to want to do them. So if you want movement, if you enjoy trotting on the horse, you got to get on the horse and you've got to be able to follow directions while the horse is moving, correct? And so we just kind of start with the basic skills and then we move up. Great
Ooh.
question.
It looks like what your client in the background is doing is not all that basic. That looks really hard.
That's a very advanced move. That's called a full flag. So she just had a weight on one leg and one arm on the opposite ones. There she goes. So she's learning her balance, right? And core strengthening. I mean, that's hard enough to do on the ground, much less on a horse's back that's not totally level, right? So
I was going to say, I don't know if I could do that on the floor.
Me too.
All right, let's keep taking some questions. We're next going to go to Rose Valley Elementary School in West Kelowna, British Columbia. So same deal, my friends. You are going to see your video feed come up and fill everyone's screen. And at that point, you can unmute and ask your question. Looks like you are muted. There we go.
Okay, no. Yep. Stay nice and loud. Nice and loud.
My name is Tom, and I'm asking if horses help different animals.
Oh, did you get that one?
If horses have different what?
Do horses help different animals? So do horses not just help humans, but can they be used for other things as well?
I'm sure that they probably could. That's not really my area of expertise. So I would have to say, I would have to check on that. And then I'd have to
Good question. She wasn't sure.
is helping humans here.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm sure horses can help other horses too, because other horses help like the young horses how to communicate and, you know, how to either be excited or calm, right? Because they do their what do you call it? They're animals that can be attacked by another animal, and so they're very they help each other, and if there's a danger, right, they can tell each other. So they'll help other horses.
Yeah, they make friends. They have buddies. All right,
Sure.
Let's grab another question from our friends at Rose Valley Elementary School. And I'll need you to unmute again.
My name is Son, and I want to know how long they live for.
All right, that question was, it seems like our kid questions are not reaching the audio in the field, so I'm working on that, but I'm hearing them, so I will be able to relay them. So Debbie, no worries if you can't hear them. Can you ask that one more time for us, Rose Valley?
Ask it again, nice and loud. Say it even louder.
How long do they live for?
How long do horses live for?
So horses can live, that's a great question too, right? Because people can live into their 70s, 80s, 90s. But horses, usually they can make it to about early 30s. So 20s and 30s are pretty common for horses. So all of ours are considered, you know, mid-age, so it's actually a perfect. Normally, we wouldn't be working with a horse that's, you know, 2 years old because they're so they might have a little too much energy and be a little too much excitable. We like the horses that are aged and that have been around and seen a lot of different things. So these guys are middle-aged.
And still in their prime. They're going to be able to work with you all for a long time. All right, next we're going to take two questions from Bridges Elementary School in Gilbert, Arizona. So we are headed to you next. Same deal. When you see your video come up, you are ready to unmute and you can ask your question.
Oh. Whoa.
So Bridges, we are not hearing you. It looks like you might be using an external microphone, so you might need to select your microphone from the list of mics in Zoom. So next to the microphone icon, there's a little caret. You should be able to click that one, and if you have a few different options, try picking a couple different ones. Try it now. I think we got you.
Try it again.
Help your mind or your body?
Can you say that one more time for us? Thank you so much for sticking with us.
Does horse therapy mainly help your body or your mind?
Ooh, I got that question, Debbie. Did you happen to hear it?
I did not.
That's okay. It was a little bit quiet. That's no big deal because I got it. And I have a feeling that the answer to this one is going to be a little bit of both, but we'll see. Is horse therapy or equine-assisted therapy better for your body or your mind? That's a good question.
Ooh, that's a great question. So it's actually best for both, right? And so it is going to help your body because you're going to be able to, you know, improve your strength and your balance and your coordination and your endurance. But it's great for your mind too, because horses are very social animals, just like people are. And so it's great to be able to socialize with them. And sometimes, you know, if we do equine-assisted psychotherapy, sometimes it's easier to talk to a horse rather than it is a person. And so the therapist can actually, with using the horse as a medium, be able to communicate better. And the person who is, you know, participating in the therapy maybe will share a little bit more with the horse involved than they would actually sitting in a office that has just four walls and a table and, you know, sitting directly across from someone. So that's a really great question. I think that horses are always great for our mind because it's almost, you know, a recreational activity. And so many of us that have had to, you know, go through therapies, sometimes I know if you go into a gym or a therapy room, if you have to do the same thing over and over and over, it can get really boring and you can maybe dread going. But I really don't know anybody that doesn't really look forward to coming to work with the horses because they know they're going to see something different every single time and they're going to have fun while they're doing it. So again, it's all about motivation. So if you're having fun doing something, you're going to be more apt to do it and participate than if you're not enjoying it.
That makes a lot of sense. And it kind of reminds me about how I have a dog, and taking the dog for his exercise that he needs helps to keep my body healthy because I have to take him, but also getting to have him and pet him and talk to him when I've had a hard day can also be helpful for my mind too. It's really amazing how animals can be helpful to us, and horses are just uniquely suited to being helpers. Let's grab one more question from Bridges Elementary School, and then we will talk to our friends at Crested Butte Community School back here in Colorado. So in just a moment, you're going to see your video feed come up and fill everyone's screen, and then you know the drill. Go ahead and unmute.
Okay. I'm Maddie, and I was wondering how you choose which horses work with which people.
Got it. So that question was, how do we choose which horses work with which people? How do you make a match between horse and human?
Should we do our next poll first before we answer that question, or should I go ahead and...
You know what? I say let's take questions from our next friends at Crested Butte Community School, and we'll come back to that. So at Bridges Elementary, the question that you just asked was so good that we have to wait to answer it because that's literally the next thing we're going to talk about. So you're one step ahead of us. Give yourselves a big self-high five for anticipating what these scientists are about to talk about. So we will come back to that one in a minute. I love it. And for now, let's go on to Crested Butte Community School. All right, looks like you have a student ready to ask a question. I'm going to bring up your video feed and let's hear it.
Hi, my name is Evelyn, and my question is, does this kind of therapy work for kids who do not have any brain differences?
Ooh, that's a good question too. Did you hear that one?
So say it one more time.
So the question was, does hippotherapy, equine-assisted therapy, work for students that don't have any kind of neurological deficit or injury or condition? Is this something that could be good for even a person who's what we call neurotypical?
Of course. I mean, how fun is it to go and learn how to ride a horse, right?
Super
this
fun.
would improve everybody's skills, right? And so because you've got to be able to learn the difference from left and right, fast and slow. You know, you have to be able to seriously follow directions. So because there's things that you have to do in a sequence. So yes, in answer to your question, it would definitely help someone who is not neurologically impaired or does not have any kind of disabilities, because it helps us to learn all sorts of different things. So this is just a very, very fun activity that, you know, everybody can benefit from. Great question.
Yeah, indeed. One more from our friends at Crested Butte, and then I see a couple in the chat. And then we can move on to our next poll and hearing about why horses are so special, or how do we pick which horses are uniquely suited to this kind of work. All right, Crested Butte, going back to you.
I'm Ruby. How did you guys get the idea for the program?
Ooh, that's a good
How did we
question.
get the idea for the program? So equine-assisted therapy has been around for a while. They actually started doing it in the 1970s in Europe. And so we got the idea for this particular program because through, like I explained before, Temple Grandin has autism, and she is a professor at CSU. And so we're working under her name to help us get the word out there that we are doing equine-assisted therapies. And so because we're broadening, we're going to do research and education and treatment all at the same facility. So therapists will be doing a lot of research. So how does working with the horse benefit certain different groups? So very diverse. So we just finished a big study for working with people with autism. People benefit. We also work with people who have Down syndrome, multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, different genetic anomalies. And so that's how we've gotten the idea. And it's actually, like I said, it's not a brand new idea. It's been around since the 70s, but we are trying to help improve it and expand on it and do some research so that people understand how great this type of therapy actually is and how beneficial and how quickly people can respond and improve their functional skills.
Beautiful. All right, let's grab a couple of last questions. Well, not last questions. We still have more to go. Let's grab a couple of questions from the chat, and then we can keep moving on. So this next question comes from Jason Lewis's group in Elmont, New York. They are wondering, what are kids' reactions the first time they work with these animals? Or what sorts of reactions do you see people have the first time you put them up on a horse, or the first time you introduce them to a horse? That's a good question.
That is a great question. For the most part, kids are very excited and very willing to work with a horse. And, look at these great, big, beautiful animals. I mean, who wouldn't be, right? And so sometimes maybe for the first time or two, especially if it's a very small child that we're working with, and we start off with, we can work with kids as young as 18 months old and go up to 99 years old. And so if they're very young, maybe they're going to be a little apprehensive just because the animal is so big, right? That's pretty proportional to an 18-month-old, who comes to the horse's knees. That's a giant that you're getting ready to get on. So they may be a little apprehensive and a little shy at first, but it usually only takes one or two times before we just can't hardly pull them off because they're wanting to stay on because they're having so much fun. So their reactions are generally very, very positive and very enthusiastic. And like I said, it's all about motivation. It's all about fun.
Good. Yeah, you got to love it when science and fun can go together, because science is cool and everybody loves fun, but when science and fun can go together, that's really the good stuff. All right, at this point we are ready to switch gears a little bit and move into our next portion of our talk. We have some more information we'd like to share with you, and then we will pull some more questions, and then that's the end of our time. Now, I want to start this off with a question for Debbie and the rest of the Temple Grandin Equine Center crew. Can any old horse be involved in equine-assisted therapy? Is this something that any horse can do, or is it something that requires a very, very special one? What do you think?
This actually requires very, very special horses. So I think that this time would be a great time to do our second poll so that we can find out what kind of horses do you think that we would need for this type of therapy. So if we have our poll ready.
We do. It's going to be popping up on the screen right now, and any minute I'm going to have that poll pop up. So go ahead, teachers, and survey your group, or group leaders, survey your group and tell us what they think. How do we choose horses to work with us at the Temple Grandin Equine Center? Is it based on their body size and shape, on how they move, their temperament, so their attitude and behavior, or is it all of the above, a mix of some of these things? Tell us what you think. If for some reason the poll is not popping up for you, try opening up the chat. That is usually one way to make it come up. Otherwise, if it's still not popping up, you can tell us in the chat what you think. See lots of votes starting to come in. We'll leave this up for a few more moments, give everybody some time. All right, looks like we are ready to go. Here are the results. So Debbie, it looks like we had one vote for based on their temperament and attitude, and the rest of the votes were for all of the above. What's right?
Very, very good. So all of the above is correct. All of the above. So we do want to choose different horses with different body sizes and shapes. And so as I introduced the different horses to you, I introduced the Welsh pony. He's kind of small. We're looking at Adel right now. He's short, but he's very wide, very stout. And then Goody back behind him is very tall. And he's still a little broad, but he's thinner than most horses who are his height. So Harley is not quite as tall as Goody, but we do want, different sizes and shapes because, think about if we're working with that little 18-month-old who's very tiny, a little peanut, and we don't want to put her on a huge horse, right? Because it's just not going to be proportional. So in the same effect, if we have a gentleman who maybe has had a stroke, who's 6'2", we wouldn't want to put him on a Welsh pony because that Welsh pony is not going to be able to be, proportional for weight for him. That man's legs are probably going to, his feet are going to drag on the ground, and the pony is going to have a hard time carrying him because he's so tall. So we do want different sizes and shapes. We also want to pick them and so that we have different movement, because each man moves different when they walk, the same as each horse moves different when they walk. And so depending on what we want to do with that, so horses and humans' pelvis moves the same way. We have anterior, posterior, so it's going to go front and back, right? We have rotation because you got to move your hips, right? We have lateral movement, so side to side. We have vertical movement because you've got to clear your toe, right? And then, so you kind of bounce a little bit, and then the movement through space. So each horse we will choose for a particular participant because of their shape, their size, and how they move. And so if we have someone who maybe doesn't have a whole lot of lateral, a lot of side-to-side movement, and able to shift their weight from one foot to the other to be able to walk, we might put them on a horse like Adel, who has a lot of lateral movement, and to be able to give that correct neurological input so that they can actually start shifting their weight and getting side to side. The same thing as if there's a 4-year-old maybe who's not able to jump yet, we might put them on a horse that has a lot of vertical, a lot of up and down movement, so that we can get that correct neurological input. And the next thing you know, parents are calling us, 2 and 3 weeks later saying, oh my gosh, my child's hopping all over the house. So the horse is really good in, the way that they move that way to be able to help us. And then also based on their temperament. And so you see how Harley's just really laid back, and he's very accepting of all the different positions that they're doing. They're playing catch, so doesn't bother him at all that ball is coming from behind him. We're looking for a horse that's very accepting of things like that. We may put things in a bucket that may rattle. And of course, rattlesnakes rattle, and horses are afraid of rattlesnakes, right? So we have to desensitize them, and we have to have horses that are accepting of those kind of noises and movements and everything to be able to do the therapy. So all of the above was a great, great answer.
Very good. It's amazing to just watch all of this happening. This is our second session of the day, and I am not out at the Temple Grandin Equine Center like the rest of the crew is. As a note for safety, all of us are standing very far apart, everyone who's at the site today. It's just been amazing to stand here in the studio at the museum and see all of this happen. It's really incredible stuff. In the interest of time, we only have about 5 minutes left in our session today. I'd like to take a few more questions. So I'm going to propose that we take one more quick question from each of our on-camera schools. And anybody who has a question, go ahead and pop it in the chat too. We may be able to pull some more of those. We're going to go in that same order. So we're going to start with one from Phoenix Academy, and then one from Rose Valley Elementary, one from Bridges, and one from Crested Butte Community School. And then I do see some questions that are in the chat. So we'll pull as many as we have time for before it's time to wrap up. Thank you so much, everybody. It has been wonderful to have you today. We're going to go first now to Phoenix Academy. Remember to talk nice and loud for us. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Arden, and how many horses are there?
I did not hear that question. Can you come up to the microphone for us? I know you might have to stay far apart from each other.
How many horses are there?
Can you tell us again, Debbie, how many horses are there at the Temple Grandin Equine Center?
So we have 4 horses here. So we work with 4 different horses, again, all different sizes and shapes and movements and temperaments. At the facility that we're currently at, we only have room for the 4, but next December, so about a year and a half from now, we're going to have 15 horses.
Woo, 15.
Yeah, that's very exciting. So we'll really have a wide variety.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to do this program again in about a year and a half and show off all of those 15. All right, we are headed next to Rose Valley Elementary School. Looks like we've got someone coming up to the camera. Here we go. Remember to unmute for us.
Yep. Okay, right up here. Come right up here so they can hear you. Say it loud.
Can 2 people ride the horse at once?
Oh, that is a good question. Can 2 people ride the horse at one time?
2 people can ride the horse at one time. We don't do that all the time. It's very, very extenuating circumstances that we would do that. There have been some cases where the therapist will actually ride behind the client or the patient because maybe they don't have any head control or body control. And so the therapist can sit behind and actually facilitate and help their shoulders stay back and help them to hold their head up so that it's a little more safer and a little more beneficial for the client. So we don't, that's very rare cases that we do that. And it has to be a very good rider, a therapist that's been doing it for many, many years. We don't let just anybody do it. And, but just in very, very special circumstances. Yes, great question.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's grab one from Bridges Elementary School. So it looks like we have someone ready to go there.
On this video that we watched, about your thing, why do some kids ride backwards?
Oh, so you watched the video that we sent out before the program started, and you're wondering why some kids ride backwards. Great question.
That is a great question. So when we put the people in a different position on the horse, and so maybe Maria, if we can show them riding backwards, that would be lovely. So when you're facing forward, you're working on all of your tummy muscles, right? Your rectus abdominis, you guys, if you've done your anatomy, so you're working the muscles that are in the front of your core, right? And so when we turn around and we ride backwards, now they're working on their spinal muscles. And so the muscles that are attached to your spine and your ribs and everything that help you to stay upright and not flop over, right? And so people who maybe don't have really good posture, this would help them to be able to bring their shoulders back and actually strengthen their back and their neck and their head and everything to help them to strengthen that different muscle group. So we'll also sometimes turn them sideways because you have muscles in your core called obliques that help you to do rotation, you know, when your shoulders turn around and when you like try to look back behind you. And so that way, yep, just like that. So now we're working on her obliques and the transverse abdominis, so which is kind of like a belt that goes around your tummy. And the obliques are muscles that are kind of going catty-cornered, kind of sideways within your belly to help you to do your rotation. So So we're working different muscle groups. That's why they're in different positions. That was a great question.
Yes, it was. All right, let's grab one more from our last on-camera group today from Crested Butte Community School, and we'll see how much time we have. I know we are coming up right on the end. There's always so much we want to talk about.
Hi, my name is Cody, and the question that I have for you is, how many clients do you have?
How many clients do you have, Debbie? Thanks for that question, Cody.
That is a great question. So we have, right now, we're currently seeing between 30 and 50 clients a week. So sometimes we do groups with, you know, COVID, we've got the schools that are out right now, but we'll have school groups that'll come in that'll bring 6 to 8 kids at a time. Most of the sessions that we do like this are individual sessions, so they come one at a time. So we might see up to 7 clients a day. And then if we have groups come in, like I say, we can have anywhere between 2 to 8 people come in at a group at a time. So that's great. And we have all different therapists. We have physical, occupational, we're working on getting a speech therapist. And then we have psychotherapists and therapeutic riding instructors. So we have for all different kinds of abilities, and just depending on what you're wanting to learn and what you need to work on. So yeah, between 30 to 50 clients a week. So that's a great question. And everybody usually comes about once a week.
Nice. All right. Well, with that, we are unfortunately at time. I know that there's more questions that we wanted to answer, but we do have to wrap up. You'll just have to keep tuning in, everybody, so that we can continue to explore science together. But before we say goodbye, I do just want to say a huge thank you to our partners at Colorado State University at the Temple Grandin Equine Center. Thank you so much for being part of this today. As well, thank you to all of the school groups, homeschools, pods, whoever you are that's participated today. We are so grateful that you were here. We're so glad that even with the world being a little bit weird this year, we are still able to connect you with science where it happens. That's what we want to do, and we were so glad that you're here. If you're interested in continuing your learning, you'll have to tune in next time. Our next installment of Scientists in Action is also with Colorado State University. We have a lovely collaboration with them. So on October 8th, we will feature veterinarians from the Colorado State University Veterinary Teaching Hospital. You can learn all about what it's like to be a veterinarian. So a new part or a new aspect of the human-animal relationship in continuation of this series. And also, if you're near to us in Denver, come check out Dogs, A Science Tale. It is now open. You can get tickets at dmns.org. We'd be so excited to welcome you in. It's a really adorable exhibit. It's definitely worth your time. All right, everybody. Debbie, I'm going to switch over to you. Give everybody one last wave. And students, if you want to unmute and say goodbye, you can do that. Thanks for being here today, everybody.
This was so much fun. Thank you.
Bye. 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 Bye.